The Chiefs won.
I did.
Again.
Yep.
25-22.
3-5, and now we can say it's a dynasty, even though it was kind of a dynasty before, but, you know.
Well, you got to win that third one, right?
Well, hey, yeah, Aikman's getting trolled today because, you know, people were talking crap years ago on Mahomes versus Aikman numbers, and he said, call me when he gets a third of my Super Bowls, and, well, now he's got him. He didn't get a third.
By the way,
he's got them all.
Do you remember my score prediction from Friday?
What was your score prediction?
25-19 Chiefs.
Get right the hell out of town.
How about that?
I don't remember that.
I missed by a field goal.
You suck.
Idiot.
But we both had Kansas City winning.
That we did.
And my props hit.
And that's why we had Kansas City winning. It's like, and that's why the Niners were favored. Like you see both sides. It played out exactly how either side, you know, sort of looked at it, right? Yeah. It's like, that's why you don't bet against Kansas City, but the Niners were the better team, and or on paper, they're a better team. Yeah. And for, you know, the better part of a half and another quarter and a half of another quarter, they proved that. Yeah. I mean, the Niners played.
You are so right.
They played really well, and they were winning the line of scrimmage, and it was like, ooh, boy. The thing that I was thinking going into the third quarter, and then Mahomes throws the interception, it's like, man, the matchup that we did not give enough sort of credit to would be the Niners' defensive front against the Chiefs' offensive line. Yeah,
because the Niners' defensive front had been kind of oogie for the last, you know, at least through the playoffs and then the final couple weeks of the season.
But they were owning that.
They played their ass off, and yet they just couldn't.
But that's what then that's where the Chiefs, you come back with the Chiefs and like all their coaches that make adjustments and Spagnuolo keeping them in it. And then, oh, by the way, Patrick Mahomes, and you just can't kill them, which leads me to this. So that was a pretty boring Super Bowl up until it wasn't. I mean, it was a great second half. You ended up having a Super Bowl record 5 ties or lead changes in the second half in overtime. Just the second Super Bowl ever to go to overtime. Yeah. So it ended up being a classic. But if you're playing Kansas City, particularly with Patrick Mahomes, and you get the ball with under 6 minutes left in a tie game, you cannot, under any circumstances, even as we've seen with less than 15 seconds left, give the ball back to Kansas City. Yeah. And San Francisco did that. And so it raises a question of, should they have been more aggressive in that on that last drive? Because they sort of, and I'm not going to say they settled for a field goal. Obviously, they're trying to get a first down. But on that 3rd and 4, right before the 2-minute warning, you know, you get 2 yards there, and they threw an incompletion because Spag warmed him up, but or Spags. But if you get 2 yards there, you get 1 yard there. Certainly, if you get 3 yards there, do you, if you're Kyle Shanahan, do you have the balls to pass up the go-ahead field goal and try to get 7 and just milk the clock and keep the ball away from Kansas
City? I swear, I am not doing the Monday morning quarterback. I would have done this and I would have known, but I thought in both scenarios, as I'm sitting there, I channeled my inner Dan Lanning, and I had this exact conversation with myself. Because I think you can say the same thing about the overtime one.
Yeah, that's right.
You had it on 3rd down, and it was 3rd and short both times.
In the red zone. Well, actually, the first one wasn't in the red zone.
Was
no, 3rd and 4.
It was 3rd. It was 3rd and 4.
It
but
wasn't in the red zone.
It wasn't in the red zone, but it was close. And this is where I'll go to my grave saying that this is why I think where Dan Lanning, or not Dan Lanning, I guess both, but Dan Campbell is on to something.
You did say Lanning the first time. Yeah. That's what I thought you were talking about.
No, you have finally figured out, hey, maybe we should run the football. Thank God. Because for a while there, they were pulling the Baltimore Ravens. There were 3 possessions there, including the Mahomes interception, where they went 3 and out, and they ran the ball 1 time. What are you doing? And they decide, hey, maybe we should run the ball, and they're having success. And the Chiefs defense is gassed. And I've got 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, whatever. Run the ball twice. And you know Spags is going to heat you up. You know it. You know it's coming. And you've had a hard time picking it up. So what do you... Put McCaffrey on the edge, throw him the ball, get rid of the inside blitz stuff because you know that's where it's coming from because they've been pressing you up the middle. Run to the edge twice and tell Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams and Kittle and my guys, you've got 2 runs here to pick up 4 yards, and we do that. We bleed this clock, we kick the field goal, and we go home. Mm-hmm. Same thing, and the same thing in overtime. When you kicked that field goal, I sat there and I was like, are you kidding me right now?
You knew they were going to lose.
I would rather not pick it up down there and pin them deep and just say, hey, man, if they kick a field goal and they beat us. Because,
I agree with you there.
100%.
Because I'm going to kick a field goal, and I'm not even talking about deciding to take the ball, which made no sense to me. But since then, analytics guys have come out and said it's about a 50-50 proposition. Didn't make any sense to me. But to sit there and say that we're going to kick a field goal and then trust Mahomes, who, again, has lit you up these last handful of drives, and you're just going to be like, nah, we'll live and die with that? No, dude, I say pull a Dan Campbell and say, F it. We are going to score a touchdown or we're going to pin him deep.
Boy, I tell you what.
Run the ball twice.
If he does that and he does not get it, the heat that he would take today.
That's why at least I can respect Dan Campbell, because he's got the balls to do it. But it's one thing when you're doing it Dan Campbell against Brock Purdy. It's another thing when you're telling me that you're going to trust that you're going to stop Patrick Mahomes in those moments.
That's why you can't.
No, I can't get with it.
That's why you can't. When they got the ball, I think it was 5:45 or whatever, tie game. You have to, under any circumstances, you cannot, under any circumstances, give the ball back to Kansas City.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yep.
So you're right. Play for.
All I know is the one in overtime, it was 3rd and 4.
Yes.
You're telling me.
Out of a timeout.
The
one in overtime.
The one in overtime.
The one in regulation was 3rd and 4, too.
It was 3rd and 4. I'll go back and look at that one. But this one was 3rd and 4 from the 9-yard line when you decided to kick that because you didn't get it on third down.
Is that the one Chris Jones came unblocked?
Came unblocked.
Yeah.
You're telling me that the way you've been running the ball, that you can't get 4 yards in two plays?
And that's exactly what I was thinking. I mean, my brother and I texted a lot about this morning, and basically that play in that series, like, you've got to get the ball to McCaffrey somehow. Like, you have to force feed that, I think.
Yeah. Well, Shanahan's taking heat for that too.
Yeah.
Forgetting about McCaffrey. Now you go back and look at the stats. He had 22 carries. They were not. When they ran McCaffrey, they were not getting much. But
it was something, and I think if you run it with him twice there, I think you get it.
Let's put it this way. Before I want to hear what Suke has to say about this, but because we hammered John Harbaugh, and rightly so. This was a little different, I think, in a sense that yes, you can criticize Kyle Shanahan for get away from the run, but I think we also learned a little something about how Kansas City's defense makes you play.
Sure.
When you are running McCaffrey and you're not getting anything, and the quarterback then all of a sudden gets up to the line of scrimmage on first down and he looks around and Kansas City is selling out to stop McCaffrey, what happens? Well, the quarterback gets good looks to throw the ball. That's what happens. That's why teams get away from the run. Is Purdy's like, well, and he probably convinces Shanahan, or Shanahan the other way around says, look, you got some good looks here. You've got guys on the outside too. Let's go to them because of what they're giving us. So I think that in a way, Shanahan handled it better than John Harbaugh and Todd Monken of the Ravens, obviously. Didn't handle it perfectly, but you can see why Kansas City makes you do that. Like their defense is that good that it forces you into into that style of play where you all of a sudden you look up and you go, man, we need to get back to the run.
Again, I'm not here to sit and say that I have a better understanding of offense than Kyle Shanahan. But what I don't get is how at the beginning you are using formations and shifts to keep Kansas City off balance, and you are gashing them from under center with your play action game. And then seemingly for no reason, for a quarter and a half, because I get it, Kansas City was bringing an extra guy up into the box. You abandon your play action game. You abandon your run game totally. You didn't even attempt it. You didn't take shots down the field. If they're playing a single high safety, you didn't take shots down the field when they were there, because the plays that you did take shots, with the exception of the McDuffie one that he made a great tip, those were there. Either you didn't quite have enough time or Ayuk ran a bad route on one. But I think you challenged the Kansas City defense maybe twice downfield, and you completely went away from the play action game, and you completely abandoned the run game. And I just don't get that, because the moment you went back to it in the fourth quarter, the moment you were like, oh, geez, let's get back to doing what we do, what did they start doing? They started gashing them. And yeah, it wasn't always 9 yards, but it made Kansas City back vulnerable. And you're like, hey, this is the offense that we used at the start of the game.
And it made them respect the balance and all that. Yeah,
but they also didn't score any touchdowns that way either.
No,
I mean, it's like it's as if Kansas City has the ultimate trump card. One, because of Patrick Mahomes, but two, it really seems like in the second half of these games, and we talked about this all last week, Steve Spagnuolo.
He's great.
He's greatness. Nobody adjusts to his adjustments.
Yeah.
He gets people on their heels, and he's got the personnel to do it.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing.
The corners help.
Yes, those corners are incredible. And they played man.
Yep.
I don't know. From my eyes, they played man most of the game.
And they were great.
Not many teams can do that against the Niners, right? So that's the first thing. But he also said, Spagnuolo basically just said, dude, if this is going to be a blitz off, we're winning.
Yep.
I'm going to blitz Purdy, beat me. And on the other side, I dare you, blitz Pat, see what happens.
And they didn't do it often, but when they did, he kicked their ass.
He killed them. And that's where I think that, it comes down to just little things like that. It's like, dude, Spagnuolo is smart, and he had the Niners offense on their heels. And oh, by the way, they don't have Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
The Chiefs offense was on its heels, but guess what they have? Patrick Mahomes. Yep. I mean, I thought that I think it was the first drive of overtime where in Romo and Nance pointed this out, but Shanahan and Wilkes were yelling at each other on the headset.
Yeah.
Like they were getting Patrick Mahomes. He was in their kitchen. I don't know which one it was, but it sure seemed like Shanahan was calling Wilkes off of his calls or vice versa, but they were clearly not agreeing on how to go about defending that drive. And I think it might have been, maybe Romo pointed out that it might have been Shanahan saying, do not freaking blitz him another time.
Yep.
And you could see him on the sideline saying
that's what it was.
But he still lost.
Yep.
Right? So there it is, right there. And Spagnuolo on the other side is saying,
he got home with his blitzes.
That's right. He's saying, I'm going to beat me.
Yeah.
And they couldn't.
Nope.
So
the McDuffie delayed blitz where Purdy had no chance on that third down.
3rd and 4. That was a huge one.
Genius.
It was masterful. Mm-hmm. And it was really well done by a first-team All-Pro guy. And look, I don't blame Brock Purdy. There's nothing you can do with that.
McDuffie had such an awesome game just across the board.
But wasn't that just high-level football?
It was.
On all.
And that's why I don't blame that.
That's what I mean.
That's just this high-level
the Niners,
ball.
And Shanahan said it after the game. I was like, man, Shanahan's going to take a lot of crap for this. But then I started thinking about it and going, and I loved his answer. He basically said he was talking about the overtime decision, which we'll get into, but also just the way the game unfolded and getting away from McCaffrey. And there's a lot of things he has to answer to, but his main point was, hey, look, we went into this game with a game plan. We practiced really hard to run the things we were going to run, and I'm not second guessing today. We ran what we wanted to run. We just did not win the game. It didn't quite work out. He said the worst games are the ones where you're second guessing yourself because you steered from the plan, or you made a decision that wasn't in the plan, or you maybe got caught up in the moment. He said he hates that because now you're always second guessing. This one, he said they had a plan. They stuck to it. They did a pretty good job with it, they still did not win the game. And it's like, what do you want me to do?
Yep.
And that's a pretty good answer.
The other side gets scholarships too. They're pretty good.
Yeah. So let's talk. Hey, you guys want to talk more about it?
Let's do it.
Let's talk about the overtime decision. The coin.
It's probably the most criticized one today, and it shouldn't be.
Coin toss decision.